Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more Scarlet Hollow. Now, before proceeding to the next chapter, I would like to address a few points regarding the previous video. Number one, I suspect Avery is Tamika's brother or sibling. We'll get onto that in a bit. This is not because they both share the same skin tone, and this is a small rural town, and my tiny little mind cannot imagine the possibility or conceive the fact that the people of this town might have a greater variety of skin colours. No, not at all. It is because visual novel games in this genre tend to rely on a small cast of characters, often characters who know each other quite well and are familiar with one another, and quite often are related. Significant portions of families are often introduced. Now, we already know that Tamika's mother is an established character in the adventure. We could have gone to spend time with her instead of going back to the rundown house of our sister at the end of the first chapter. And it was only out of respect for my sister. What, sister? I mean, estranged cousin. That I did not act like an impatient brat and follow through on this. It's my feeling that if we were to go and see Tamika's mother, then having Avery around as a potential additional character in scenes at that house, in addition to Tamika herself, and what's her name? The YouTuber. It'll come to me when we see her soon enough. So having an additional character there in the form of Avery would allow for further dramatic opportunities. That it would be a character who has their own attitudes and opinions on the situation, can comment on things, can interject in conversations, can react to things that other characters say, and so on, right? It's granting a more ensemble cast. It's entirely possible they're not related, but I feel, given the way this genre tends to play out, there's a good chance that they are. The second point I'd like to bring up is that viewers may have noticed that I did not appear to respect Avery's gender pronoun choices. That is very simple. I had no reason to. Wait, before you get offended, I had no in-character reason to. I walked into the diner with someone I'd met. We were going to sit down to have a place, nice place to meet. A not particularly androgynous or unambiguous man walked up to us. And the entire scene played out using not only gender-neutral pronouns for that man, but extremely blatant gender-neutral pronouns for that man. And my character had no way of knowing. It's not as if we walked in there and the girl I was with said, "Oh, this is Avery. Try not to, use this gender-neutral pronouns," or whatever, right? There's a difference between knowing someone with gender dysphoria and respecting and supporting them and going, okay, well, you know what? You're a friend. You asked me to refer to you that way. Cool, we'll do that, And having some stranger you've never met appear and you being expected, despite his blatant facial hair, you being expected to just automatically know what he wants to be called. I think, in a way, the scene was perhaps too respectful of his life choices and didn't inform us in character of the out-of-character information that was automatically beamed into our skull. And that is why I did not choose to respect the gender-neutral pronouns, because I had not been informed of them in any way, and it was just being thrust in my face. It was like a stranger saying, do this. It's very controlling, very commanding, so I didn't like that. Third thing, that is not a biscuit. There's a fourth thing, but it can wait. Let's carry on. If you'd like to continue with this world state in episode 2, please save your game now. I did that at the end of the last episode. We shall continue. Would you like to see a recap of episode 1 before you start episode 2? What a strange question. I mean, it's been a few days. Maybe it'll help. I did not like the assumption that anyone interested in the occult has to be a young goth who disrespects their parents. Other kinds of people can be interested in the occult as well. Sure, as long as it is a fairly short recap. The funeral of Pearl and Scarlet. Your cousin's mother and your aunt seemed like something you shouldn't ignore, even considering your own late mother's rocky relationship with this side of the family. Welcome to our family's humble estate. Unfortunately, due to the current state of the house, only a few rooms will be safely accessible during your stay. I wouldn't go wandering anywhere else if you value your limbs. The floors have been known for giving out... Okay, so it's not necessarily a recap, it's just selected highlights. The country ambience clashes terribly with the goth woman behind the counter, who has been eyeing you with something between curiosity and dawning horror, and apparently we're supposed to know that she's a goth. She was clearly trying to say it quietly, of course, but you heard her. You're the only two people here. So... And then it emerges, an honest-to-goodness mountain lion, and there is something horribly wrong with it. And we get a sense that it's possessed. There's something horrible going on behind its eyes. It's not the only thing here in its body. The hunter chases it away. I actually saw it leaving this time. I don't remember seeing it last time. Stella, that's her name. We'll talk about Stella a bit more. Right, so... Or do it now, actually. I think Stella should be more upset by the death of her beloved pet. That being said, it was getting old and pretty geriatric, so maybe she'd had plenty of time to reconcile herself to the fact that the puppy would die, or she's a tougher cookie than she initially let on. Now, it just so occurs that we encountered monsters. I think this recap is possibly showing some of the more important choices or encounters that I had. I think the developers went a little heavy-handed on the monsters for this early in the game. It felt as if they'd spent a long time relaxing, establishing the setting, and making the player comfortable with all this information, absorbing the identity of the town and its people, and thought, okay, we need some action now, let's go really heavy-handed with the monsters. I would have preferred a more gradual introduction to the monsters, and this does actually remind me of an Appalachian story. It's something like the storyteller, whoever that is, and I don't have anything approaching an American accent, so I can't pull this one off, was out walking in the mountains near the trees. It was a nice summer day, really gorgeous weather, and suddenly they were surrounded by angry, shouting voices roaring all around them. And they moved away. They couldn't see anything. Whatever it was invisible. They moved away, the voices stopped. They moved back, and it turned out that the voices only occupied a 50-foot circle. Outside that circle, the voices could not be heard. And so they ran away and went back to the village, and they were told, oh, that place up there, there was some Native American Indian people disappeared a long time ago, and they say that place is cursed, and you shouldn't go there, or you might disappear too. And that's it. Like, that's the whole story, right? So here we had the voices in the trees, and then the monsters came out. We got this kind of zombie, ghoulish ghost man here, and I suspect he's not the only one, dressed like one of the miners. The figure steps out of the light, disappearing back into the darkness of the woods, and I think we went back and went home. However, while I can say that the appearance of the monsters seemed particularly heavy-handed, there were far too many of them. They were too obvious in their approach, to the point where you'd have to wonder, how did nobody notice them before this? Well, maybe they did, and they just did not live to tell the tale. It does remind me of the appearance of the Svarts at the beginning of the Moonstone of Brisingamen. The Moon of Gomrath. The second, the sequel to it. Let's not talk about Bonelands, that is a very disappointing read. The page after page of dialogue with no he said, she said, and you're having to keep track of the two characters, remember who's saying what the whole time, is very confusing. Yeah, one of the characters is supposed to be losing his mind, and you do find out later on why. But still, you get a little bit of the old writing style of the series towards the end, but it's very temporary, and then it just goes, and it kind of doesn't go anywhere. It's like, okay, so you had an opportunity here to develop something, and you just didn't. It's very disappointing, but I think the writing style is an active choice by Alan Garner, rather than... But anyway, yes, so the Svarts in The Moon of Gomrath, they begin... Wait, no, it is The Weird Stone of Brisingamen, the first book. The Svarts, there's loads of them, they chase the children, it is very heavy-handed. Until they're rescued by Fenodori, the dwarf, I believe. Now, that is going back quite a few years, isn't it? Right. Will we know when the recap ends? From the relative safety of your cousin's uncomfortable guest bed, the events of the past evening seem like something that happened to someone else, though you can still clearly picture the terror you felt in those moments. For now, you're safe, and you're warm. There we go. Tuesday morning awaits. Now, since those creatures occupy the forest, and the garden has become so overgrown the forest has practically infested it, I will be rather less willing to set foot in the garden now, as those creatures may be out there waiting for me. Let's wake up. You open your eyes. The sun has risen. The birds are singing. You are still alive, and for now, you are safe. Oh, and if you think, well, you should have just known, you bigot. It's like, mate, I didn't know. Right, me, the player, absolutely. I saw the words on the screen. Me, the character, no idea. Right? The sun has risen. The birds are singing. You're still alive, and for now, you are safe. Your gaze wanders across the room to the window and the woods beyond. You wonder if the monsters are lurking there right now, just beyond the trees, ready to pounce as soon as you leave the crumbling estate. And we could have asked to go to work with our sister tomorrow. Oh, yeah, that's another thing. Sorry, cousin. Cousin Tabitha owns a mine, and I suspect, based on the little bit of imagery we got at the end of the chapter there, that what they have been doing down in the mine for the last 150 to 200 years may have caused these creatures to come out to play. The monsters, the nature of the world, the wildlife and folklore of the world could be reacting to what has been going on in the mine. Perhaps they dug too deep. A familiar unease settles into your gut, tangling into a knot of anxiety, wriggling as the events of last night play out in your head. You can't help but remember the sight of pale faces jeering at you as they carried Gretchen's poor little body into the underbrush. You're not sure if you'll ever feel okay again after what you've seen, but you can't stay in bed forever, although I can certainly try. Hunger pulls you from the clammy depths of the mattress. Look at that, sunken centre of the bed. That is an old mattress, old bed springs. Note, you can refresh yourself on the events of the previous day by using the journal icon in the quick menu. This one here. Okay, Monday, major decisions. Refused boiled peanuts from a strange man on the bus. I mean, I'm not sure this is major. It could just be because it was the first decision we've really got to make. Found an opossum living in my dresser, so we could have not found it and been bothered by it later on if we startled it. Duke saved me from a mountain lion. Lost Gretchen to creatures in the woods and watched Stella put her out of her misery. We absolutely should not have done it ourselves. That would have been wrong, I think. Was picked up by Tabitha after my encounter in the woods, and the two of us saw a ghastly figure on the road. No mention of meeting Kanika or Avery at all. So apparently no major decisions were made there. We can check on the opossum. Why? It might get frustrated if we bother it too many times. We can poke around the closet. We were told not to, but we can at least look out of the window. You creep... What is that? You creep towards the window, careful not to be seen by whatever might be lurking in the garden. For a second, you thought you saw movement. It could have been an animal. It could have been something else. Whatever it is, it's gone now. It looked like a person with some cloth over their head. Let's leave the window. Maybe you'll head out there and investigate after you've finished waking up. Or not. We will check on the opossum. Now we'll poke around in the closet. After what you went through last night, the last thing you needed this morning was waking up to find that doll in your closet. Why? It's just a doll. She's tired, she's sleeping, she's missing a shoe. Let her rest there. It's not like she was locked in there for bad behaviour or something. We could pick up the doll. It's not our doll. And we were told not to look in here. If we put her back down differently, it's entirely possible Tabitha might come in here to check up after we've gone and notice. Let us respect the doll. Some things are best left untouched. You close the closet behind you. Something else that's best left untouched is the opossum. It's quite happy where it is and doesn't want to be disturbed. We'll get dressed and head down to the kitchen. We could have got dressed before looking around in there. We wouldn't have needed to get dressed before going to the window necessarily, but definitely before looking in the closet. Time to start your day. You're back in the kitchen. Frou-Frou eyes you from her favourite spot on the counter. Oh, I will say, this game has 219 things, achievements. And I've apparently done like 9 of them. I imagine that each of the skills we could have taken would be, complete a certain chapter with one of these skills, because we got one for completing chapter 1 with each of these, I think, or at least book smart. So there could be some for incidental things like that, but others for choices and decisions. Wait, what? All I did was... Okay, you're back in the kitchen. Frou-Frou eyes you from her favourite spot on the counter. We're not going to stroke the cat. We've been asked not to. Excuse me, Mom, but may I pet you? May I stroke your beautiful fur? Part of you hopes that flattery might win her over, as silly as that may seem. You are, after all, talking to a cat. She's superior and she knows it. Frou-Frou merely flicks her tail faster. It doesn't look promising. That means she's irritated. We've had a cat in this family long enough to know that. I mean, bless him, he died about 20 years ago. Maybe a bit longer. But we had him long enough. Look, we had him about 14 years. And he never really became tame. Hey! You sure took your time getting up. Hey, cuz... It's like 8 in the morning. And this is the countryside. They'd probably expect you to be up at 5 to milk the cows. There are monsters in the wood. We should probably leave. But that's not the best conversation opener. Oh, I had a really rough night last night. Could you cut me some slack? No. It's not my fault that you got lost in the woods, and I am up late enough as it is, so listen up. I don't want any repeats of last night. From now on, no running around in the woods after dark. It's dangerous out there. You could fall down a cliff. You could get stuck in a hidden cave somewhere. You could get lost in the woods and never be found. Just because nothing happens doesn't mean it's safe. You want to be home by sunset from here on out. Sounds like a firm, solid game rule we're going to have to stick to. Aren't you the boss? How can you be late? Because she has to travel... Right. After everyone goes home from work, she has to tidy up, you know, lock up the place or whatever, do the stuff it takes. Can I hang out with you today? I don't want to be by myself. Look, I tried getting home by sunset. I was just attacked by a mountain lion. And she's not going to believe it, because it's a mountain lion. Then get home before sunset. Alright. Look, I'm sorry about last night. Okay, what's up with you and Stella? We just have a history, that's all. I don't need to explain myself to you. Okay, fine. I'm sorry about last night, but what you're doing is unacceptable. Well, yeah, don't worry about it. I don't need to be only convincing to stay put. Sure, whatever. No, I'm sorry about last night, but what you're doing is unacceptable. What is she doing that's unacceptable? Harassing us, saying we have to be back by bedtime? That's not necessarily unacceptable. We do get a lot of options to be a snotty-nosed brat. But we are from the city, so I want to click this just to find out what she's doing that we could think is unacceptable. Alright, fine, let's call a truce. You stop causing me undue stress, and I'll try to be a little less snippy. You know what? Her behaviour towards us? Yeah, that was a bit out of order. I'm late enough as it is. I'm going to work, and I expect to see you here at sunset. Tabitha takes a few steps towards the door. Sunset. Yeah, you said. Your cousin huffily exits the kitchen. Her footsteps fade down the hall, ending in the characteristic creak, then slam of the front door as it opens and closes behind her. She seems to leave the place unlocked. In all fairness, it's in such a shabby way that it's not like someone's going to break in here, see the state of the place, and tidy it up or something. Once again, you are the only human in the estate that we know of. A text from Stella. Good, we did ask her to. Tabitha told her not to, but I'm glad she did. Hey, hope you're holding up okay, or as good as you can with all the stuff we saw last night. I was up most of the night on cryptid forums. No real answers yet. I'm at the library now if you want to join. Sure, it'll give us something to do for today. I have scones. Hang on, how does an American know what a scone is and call the Yorkshire pudding of death a biscuit when it's much closer to a scone than a biscuit? Scones? Oh yeah, absolutely, I'll be on my way. Hang on, cool, on my way. I'll be there in a bit, still waking up. After last night? Hell no! I'm not really feeling up to it. Ghost her? What? Kill her and turn her into a ghost? No, she's got scones. I'm going. Why? Because it's that, or the atrocity that is putting peanut butter and jam in the same sandwich, time and time again. And even if it is a favourite food, you can have too much of a good thing. When I was at school, when I was oh, I don't know, 6, 7 or 8 years old. Some of the kids in the top class, like they were like 14, 15, 16, kids in the upper school. Yeah, we all together in the same school, not separate schools. Anyway, they went on what was that, was it a weekend or a whole week trip with a teacher, some school trip, and they had to decide what food to take with them. And they decided to just take pot noodles. And by the time they came back, they'd all pretty much gone off pot noodles for life, because that's all they had to eat while they were away. So yeah, we're going to absolutely vary our diet a bit. Let's go have some scones. And that's that. Time to start your day. No, absolutely not. Explore the garden. We don't have a death wish. Look, I don't think we'd die if we go out there. We might pick up on some clues. But no, after last night, you should make things up with your cousin. Screw going to town. Try to clean the guest bathroom instead. Why the bathroom? Why not the bed? Tabitha is right. After last night, the last thing you need to do is be sucked into more adventures. You're not going to leave the estate. You're going to do what you were told and wait for her to get back from work. That might be very, very boring. We are going to town to the library. Tabitha isn't here to stop you. She said we could do what we want, but be home by night, by dusk. It's fine, You head outside, back to the mountain path that leads to town. Although maybe we should take a stick with us, or have a stone ready to throw. It's literally the same path. The walk back to town is much less pleasant today than it was yesterday, when you didn't yet know that the woods were full of monsters and strange men who know your name. You stare anxiously into the darkness between the trees, searching for any signs of movement, but the woods are still, at least for now. The vibe I'm actually getting from this scene is almost the picnic scene from The Rats by James Herbert, which for some reason turns into a gratuitous sex scene and they spoil the picnic by just shagging on top of it. And it has sod all to do with the story, really. I mean, it does give us some character development and kind of understanding of the kind of people these characters are. And it does tie into the weird state of sexual euphoria and ecstasy that some character experiences when being gnawed to death by the rats later on. Or is it shortly before? I can't remember. It's a very bizarre book. You stare anxiously into the darkness between the trees, searching for any signs of movement, but the woods are still, at least for now. Now, in theory, we should have a lull before more intensity occurs. Let's continue down the path. The autumn-tinged mountains, sprawling for miles in every direction, now feel less like beautiful scenery, and more like the walls of a cage, the edge of the known world, as it were. They also look rather like waves in an ocean, the way they've been drawn here. I do like the artwork, it's interesting. Your phone buzzes in your pocket. Where are you? You're taking so long to get it. Mate, I'm fucking going as fast as I can. Stella has sent you an image. That's not Stella. Look who I found around library. Said she was up all night thinking about the video. What video did you post? Adding to a group text. Or you could write with language. Kanika sent a message to Stella. You. To Stella and you. I didn't see the comma. I'm only here 'cause it's quieter than the store. Or was, lol. And I'm trying to figure out what animals those things were. I don't buy into this harbinger of doom stuff. Well, maybe you should. Stella sent a message to Kanika. And you. We know... Sorry, I'm actually literally reading them up here, rather than down here. We know what animals they are. They're ditchlings, and they are harbingers of doom. Oh, so you just literally a few messages ago said... Literally like 2 messages ago, you said you didn't know what they were. 3 messages. Sounds like they're having fun. Maybe it's the kind of fun we would enjoy too. it is tricky trying to establish the kind of character we're playing. It seems like we're supposed to be playing some kind of spoiled brat from the city instead of the more serious character that our traits pertain to. I have a feeling our character might have to speak like a Joss Whedon character. We haven't had to so far, and that's probably for the best. You know, those characters who are unfortunately far too witty for their intelligence, constantly making wisecracks, which don't always align with their character, but do a better job of it than some other characters in other American shows who sort of seem to break character to do that sort of thing. Sounds like they're having fun. Excuse me, what are ditchlings? Omg, it's Kanika. Hi, Kanika. Omg isn't a word. Damn, I need those scones. I'm on my way. With an exclamation mark. Lol, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'll be there soon with a small eye. Can't wait. Number 2, solve this mystery. Send a heart emoji. I thought I told you I'm out. Don't reply. No, just go, yeah, I'm on my way. With look, I really need those scones. Don't need them all before I get there. We need some variety in our diet. Look, at the moment, actually, based on yesterday and today, we need some fibre in our diet. Need some roughage. You know. Keep ourselves regular. Brut. Almost back to town. Because this one came before the other road picture in the last episode. I do like the way they're literally reversing the order of the screens here. We will continue down the path. You make it to town in one piece. No creatures jumped out at you. No scary men blocked your path. And there is Avery speaking to what looks like a white-haired woman with glasses who might be the mother we didn't get to meet last night. The sight of other people is comforting, helping you forget the things you've witnessed, as if they might happen to someone else. No, they definitely did not happen to someone else. Oh, hey, Sarah. I knew we'd know him again. As you approach Avery, the woman there standing beside... No, we still don't know anything like that, so the woman he is standing beside, until we know better, or otherwise, comes into focus. She is impenetrable, and you feel small and almost naked in her presence. And yet you feel no threat, no malice. Again, bearing in mind that this kind of game likes to focus on a small cast of characters, I'm suspecting this is Tanika's mother. But before you can wrap your head around this strange feeling, it fades and you're left with only the vision of an average old woman in front of you. She doesn't look that average. She's got nice patterns on her clothes and a cloak. She's like a witch. We were just talking about you. I stopped by Sybil's to pick up a new tea blend and, well... You're the biggest thing to come into town since the coal mine. Folks have been absolutely buzzing about you. I'm Sybil. I run the tea house. I believe you've met my daughter's friend Stella. You went out with her last night, right? Did something happen out there? She barely even waved when she walked by. And Gretchen wasn't with her. They're never apart. Oh. I've clicked twice and it won't continue. We could tell Avery the whole truth. So Gretchen ran off. No, nothing really happened. If Stella didn't say anything, then it's probably not my place to share. That is the most English response here, and I love it. I'm traumatized and not ready to talk about it yet. Oh my god, I'm so triggered. Right. Jeez, nosy much? I hardly know you. Say nothing. No, but look, if Stella didn't say anything, then it's probably not my place to share. Okay, I guess that's fair. I hope everything's okay. Tell you what, I'm on break for the next half an hour. Why don't you swing by the diner if you want to decompress? Well, look, I was going to go meet the others in the library, and I'm not going to betray that. They got scones, man. Real scones, not your fucking biscuit thing. That's not a biscuit. When you can fix you some of Sybil's new blend, maybe it'll calm you down a bit. I think you'll like today's mix. It's chaga and lemon balm. Should help ease your stress and tension. This woman's mouth is constantly open and she's not one doing the talking. And if you feel like talking, I'll be all ears. You know, I sense he could be quite a good listener. But no pressure. And a suspicious wink. Anyway, it's up to you. See you around, Sarah. See you, Sybil. Take care now, Avery. Now. Stella's supposed to have gone to see Sybil last night. If she did, Sybil has a good idea what's going on. If she didn't, Sybil might know anyway. Oh, grumpy face, straight away. I see you're a private person. I can respect that. You never know how someone might respond to hearing the truth of what you encountered last night. I'd better get back to it myself. Back to the truth, she means. But actually, before I go, a word. Is she supposed to look like Yoda there? Because I think she does, bizarrely, a little bit. Stella came by my tea room last night. She told me about what you saw in the woods, and she showed me her footage too. I know what you two went through, and I know what you saw. Those things are real. Neither of you imagined them, and they're certainly no ordinary creatures. My grandmother called them ditchlings, and they're a terrible omen, a sign of great suffering and destruction to come. I've told Stella and my daughter what I know, though I'm afraid that's not much. Oh, we can do it. Lots of explore options. Out of your mind? I might not have a better explanation, but I don't believe it. Right, hang on. Whoa. I've never heard of ditchlings, but I'd like to know a lot about folk, and I feel like I know a lot about folk tales. Not everything is recording in writing. Some things you gotta hear about from folks who have seen them firsthand. And when you get to be as old as I am, you hear a lot of things. You know, you should count yourself lucky there aren't many people who have seen a ditchling and lived to tell about it. Or so they say. There might be a lot more depending on what she managed to film. So they're dangerous. Are they going to start attacking people? Well, yeah, but they're more of a warning sign of something much worse by the sound of it. I think you misunderstood me. They're not dangerous on their own. Think of them more like birds flocking before a storm. They're neither a threat on their own nor the cause of what's to come. Merely a sign of what things are not. Merely a sign that things are not as they should be. What kind of destruction are we talking about here? If you'd seen just one or two, I'd say it could be a bridge collapse, a bad accident, something tragic but not devastating. But this many, multiplying like they are, I couldn't tell you. If something bad is coming, we need to get people out of here. She agreed that it's best not to tell strangers because you don't know how they might react. What can we do about stopping what's coming? Or at least finding out and taking action to defend ourselves. I'm afraid I don't have any good news on that, but Stella and Kanika are doing their best to get to the bottom of this. There's a bloody great big mine that's been outside this town for about 150 years. Aside from that, I suppose the best we can all do is stay close to our loved ones. I'd say that would mean Tabitha should try and spend more time with her only living relative while she can, but I get the feeling she cares a little too much about her work to let herself leave it for that long. She probably digs too deep as well. You could always go to her. Maybe that would bring her a little joy, even if she might struggle to admit as much. There was a man on the way home last night. I don't know if this was something you'd know about, but when Tabitha and I were on our way home, There was this man on the road. It was dark, but he had a miner's jacket on. He knew my name, and there was something off about him. Oh, yes, that would be Wayne, probably. He's a bit of an adult local. You don't have to worry about him. He's harmless, just very sick. But do let me know if he bothers you again, dear. Because it could be an omen. No offense, but it still sounds rather far-fetched. It sounds like you're saying this is magic or something. Probably is. Thanks. This was helpful. Of course. I'm so sorry to cut our conversation short, but I've got things that need tending to. Stay safe, Sarah, and God bless. You'll probably have a bit of time before you're needed at the library. But it's the library. Okay, a little bit of time. We go by the general store. Maybe we can pick up some... They don't let you bring food into a library? I mean, God... Okay, hang on. This is where it gets really weird, right? For over 40 years now, for some reason, the library in my town has always been closed on Tuesdays. They literally have the list of openings hours up, and Tuesday is always shut all day. I don't know why. And we're literally on Tuesday in the game, and the library is open. Let's pop in the shop, say hello to her daughter, because she knows her mother talked to her... Wait. Why should we go to the general store when the shopkeeper is in the library waiting for us? The place will either be shut or there'll be someone else tending to it. Let's go straight to the library. Obviously, they want us to go to the diner. We might get some benefit, but we could also spend too long. I know we're told we have a bit of time, but we might end up spending longer there than we intend. Straight to the library it is. Gotta get those scones before they're all used up. You enter the former town hall. That's a nice picture. The fire isn't nice. The massive fire. That's a... I take it back. I thought that was just some wood they were carrying. That is a person in horrible agony. Tied to an iron girder, being used as a makeshift stretcher. Well, a lot of miners' hats. The children seem to be happy and laughing, though. What once must have been a stately foyer has since been converted into rows of shelves. Meeting rooms and offices long ago gave way to assorted reference collections and reading areas. And it says reading adventure here. Perhaps this is the man who organises the books and has nice weekly themes, or monthly themes. Oh hey, you made it, says the cheery person, who never seems to let things get her down. Shush Stella and pointed all the books before heading over to her table. Yeah! It does seem that in American libraries you don't have to be quiet all the time, like you do in English libraries. That's more like a college library though, like a student library, not a normal library. We'll settle in with Stella and Kanika. If this man is okay with them being this friendly and making this much noise, go with it. You head over to Stella and Kanika's table and settle in. If we go shh and point at all the books on the bookshelves, she might not realise that it's a joke. Oh, hey again! Stella filled me in about last night. What the fuck are these triangular things? Stella? I understand that a ghost has been laying tracks across your tits, but you said there were scones. You lied to me. You lied and got me here under false pretenses, you bitch! But your dog's dead, so we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You look tired. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, the estate isn't the easiest place to get a good 8 hours of sleep in. Look, It was hard to fall asleep last night, all things considered. Yeah, I'll sleep when I'm dead. No, fuck off. I'm pretty amped up, actually. I've never done a Scooby-Doo before. Fuck off. With your bloody stupid Joss Whedon-esque dialogue bullshit. Kanika, you can't just tell someone they look tired. Well, you can, but it's generally not wise. Look, it was hard to fall asleep last night after everything that had happened. I can't say I got a wink myself. Yeah, you do look a bit tired. You're actually looking a bit more haggard than before. Your whole sort of lower... Not this side, but here, this side of the lower face seems definitely slimmer than... You seem to have lost a lot of weight overnight. And honestly, lady, you went through it pretty bad. Yeah, same. What are you talking about? All you did was see a video and hear some people talk about stuff. You didn't actually have to, like, shoot your own pet or something. Anyway, I guess we should get started. You two weren't started yet? Hey there, strangers. He's got a badge, he probably works here. And literal stranger. I think this is the man Stella told me about. Your library is incredible. I can't imagine how much work you have put into maintaining this sort of collection. They're surprised? They're surprised that I appreciate a library when I'm in a library. What the fuck were they doing here? Oh, thank you. Now here. I think this is supposed to be the side of her glasses, but it would be amusing if it was a piercing that she balances her glasses on because her nose is so short they kind of keep slipping down it. And she's put it there just to keep the glasses up and because she's a goth. And it would explain the mention of her being a goth before because it wasn't as obvious. It would also tie in to my suspicion about Avery being her brother. Hey Oscar, this is Sarah, you know, Tabby's cousin. Oh, I should have known you were Scarlet. You look so much like Vivian. Vivian being Tabitha's mother? Not that I knew her very well. I was still a little kid when she left, or ours. Looks more like it's part of the glasses now. It's for those little plastic bits that go on the inside of it. See, that's why I initially thought it was. It was just when she turned full frontal that it looked more that way. But that Scarlet resemblance, it's strong. Oh god, you mean we look a bit like Tabitha as well? That's disturbing. Those earlobes of hers are terrifying. They're like diagonal. I'm Oscar Gutierrez, Chief Librarian and... only librarian. Oscar's amazing. He's practically built this library up from scratch. Yeah, I'm a little jealous of what kids around here get to grow up with. They don't know how good they have it. Yeah, no kidding. Back when I was in elementary school, all the library had was a couple of shelves of boring books donated by old people. Well, here's the thing. People do donate books to libraries. Why is there a fucking gun in a case in the library? Is it supposed to be like some kind of museum exhibit? You all, fake American word, are too kind. But speaking of kids, have either of you seen Rosalina around town? I'm just going to start correcting this to real language at some point, I think. I don't need to draw too much attention to it. I don't want to be a helicopter dad, but she hasn't been answering my texts, and I wanted to make sure she isn't getting into trouble out there. You know the crowd she hangs around with. Ooh, sounds like there may be trouble there. They're good kids at heart. I'm sure they're just up on that old Maxwell place doing teen stuff. I went up there plenty of times in my day, but I'll be sure to keep my eyes peeled. What's the old Maxwell place? It's this great old abandoned spot, and it's practically a magnet for young people. Even honours students aren't free from its call. I can't believe I used to be so reckless. The floors there were like Swiss cheese, like these things on the plate, whatever they are. Actually, I did see a video on YouTube earlier today in which someone claimed that American scones are triangular so they don't get confused with biscuits. But biscuits aren't like a scone. A scone is more like a cake than a biscuit, but it's kind of savoury enough to be more like a bread roll. It's kind of like between a bread roll and a cake. Nothing like a biscuit. I should really have a talk with Rosalina when she gets home. Oh, that reminds me, I was supposed to turn the washing machine on before I started this video. Okay. I'll just have to do it afterwards. I don't like the thought of teens getting up to mischief with a capital M with all those ditchlings in the woods. Actually, that's a very good point. And he probably doesn't know about the ditchlings, so that was a dumb thing to say. And her face is telling me that. Hers isn't. He looks a bit confused. Ditchlings? That's actually why we came in here today. Have you ever heard of them? Apparently seeing one's supposed to mean a disaster is around the corner. Doesn't ring a bell. Well, thank goodness for that. No, she definitely has a more distinct metallic shine to it, whereas it is more like the faint plastic thing. Kind of hard to tell. Damn, it was worth a shot. Okay, if you were say trying to predict a horrible disaster that might befall our town, where would you start looking? The fucking mine. There could be a cave-in, there could be a fire, there could be poisonous gas. Well, they say history repeats itself, so I'd probably try and figure out what sort of disasters this region typically falls prey to. Earthquakes, maybe? There's mining, so that could destabilize things and earthquakes could occur. Should I be worried about something? I don't know yet. I'll be right back. Gonna go nab some more books. You do that. I'm pretty sure Stella's barking up the wrong tree, Oscar. I don't think you have to worry about any horrible calamity befalling this town. She's just trying to stop him worrying. But she's right about the weird stuff. There's definitely something unusual going on out in those woods. Oh, we have a mystical option. Okay, we can just be quiet. Get out while you still can! Whatever's out there in the woods has been brutalizing the local wildlife. It's nothing that we can't get to the bottom of. Yeah. Do you not feel where all of this is going? The moment their whispers made their way to me, it's like everything started to click into place. A reckoning is coming to this town. Do you really She should be totally behind that if she is a goth. She should be like, oh yeah, absolutely doom and gloom. Death and despair. We hate the world, we want it to die. Do you really not feel where all of this is going? Yeah, I'm gonna try calling Rosalina again. Yeah, we might be getting him worried. Which means the conversation for one outside might have been a warning about the potential for causing unease here. I'm sure she's fine. Really, she doesn't look like she believes it. Don't mind Sarah. She's been hanging out with Stella too much. Oh, wow. And this is supposed to be a kindred soul? I think I should take my cue from her. Rosalina's a smart kid. She knows better than to go around getting into trouble, and we'll make sure to keep our eyes peeled. Sarah, if you see a 13-year-old girl with a black braid and glasses, would you let her know her dad is worried about her? Sure, absolutely. Is she going to chastise? If she does, turn on us and say, why did you say that? You've upset him and made him worried now. She'd be a kind of decent person. And it would make her behaviour there. If she just tries to laugh it off and acts like she's not taking this seriously, then we have a problem. Oscar anxiously wanders off, phone in hand. Got him! Just grabbed a whole mess of local history books. Stella sets a massive pile of books at the table and... Did one of those disappear? No. And pulls up a chair. Alright. This is going to be so much faster with the two of you here to help out. Unless we just chat and drink and have snacks the whole time and don't actually do any research at all. Got our snacks, got our books. Let's get this research party started. Do Americans have research parties? It seems to be a thing that's popularized in American popular culture. Reading awaits. Okay, we'll flip through the historical buildings of Scarlet Hollow, because that apparently is only available to us because we know about books. Historical buildings of Scarlet Hollow. Just the thought of reading a book like this would probably put most people to sleep. Why? But you've got a mystery to solve, and to solve it you need to know everything there is to know about this town. The Scarlet Estate, the Hiram Scarlet Memorial Hospital, the Scarlet Coal Mines, you might be sensing a bit of a theme here, the Tremaine Homestead, the Scarlet Hollow First Baptist Church, and the Town Hall. Let's start with the Town Hall. Silas Scarlet personally funded the Town Hall's construction as the first municipal building in the then small community of Scarlet Hollow. If these are presented in the order they're arranged in the book, we should probably start at the beginning and work our way through, however. It has stood at the edge of Main Street since before the Civil War, its white-columned edifice withstanding the ravages of the 1860s and continuing to stand to this day, a stunning piece of antebellum architecture. Not sure what antebellum is, but maybe we'll find out. After the town of Scarlet Hollow switched to a dog-mayor system of governance in the 1920s, the building has been put to different use, though the upstairs still house the town archives and a special ceremonial office for events with the mayor. I don't know what a dog-mayor is. So the mayor of Scarlet Hollow is a dog. Or they live in a small outbuilding, like a dog kennel, like their own house, rather than here in the Scarlet Estate, then. Pictured here, in a far better state of repair than we have ever seen it. The Scarlet Estate, inarguably the most striking piece of architecture in Scarlet Hollow and the most elaborate and elegant estate in the region, prior to the construction of the Biltmore in 1895. Andrew Jackson Scarlett chose the location to be atop a hill in Scarlet Hollow's geographic centre so that it might be seen from the town below. It remains a constant reminder of the family who carved... Sorry, one moment. Really needed to yawn there for some reason. Look, it is gone midnight. It's not just boring reading. I'm not making a joke about it. It remains a constant reminder for the family who carved Scarlet Hollow from the wilderness and provided wealth and prosperity for its residents. It's actually after 1 in the morning, but, you know. The Hiram Scarlet Memorial Hospital. First used as a field hospital during the Civil War, it was named for Silas Scarlett's eldest son, who perished in the bloody conflict. It still stands at the end of what is now the residential district of Scarlet Hollow, and has served the health of the community for over 100 years. And we see 4 people in the picture, 1 in a dark suit, 3 in the lighter clothes you might expect. Maybe like 3 nurses and a doctor. Could be anything. They look more like orderlies at an insane asylum, to be honest. In the late 1800s, as the town prospered from a coal boom, additions were built onto the house, and it transformed into a sanatorium, bringing in prestigious clientele from around the world. What did I say? They believed the fresh mountain air would do them well, and Scarlet Hollow became a tourist destination for patients of all afflictions. And I'm not blaming the patients, but bringing a lot of sick and unwell people together into a place of occult significance, all of that negativity might have also leached off into the surrounding landscape along with whatever was going on in the mine. The clinic still operates to this day as a doctor's office and stands as a building of cultural significance. Okay. the Scarlet coal mines. The original mining facility is no longer standing, having been destroyed in the collapse of 1918. Guess what? I think this game came out in 2021, so that's 103 years later. Though the new facility, outfitted with all the cutting-edge technologies of the industry, is in itself a fine example of practical construction, the first iteration of the mining camp was a true product of its time, and what few photographs exist are an interesting peek back at a different era. One can still visit the site of the original Scarlet coal mine, though all that remains are a few abandoned tunnels closed off to the public. And ghostly eyes looking out from a tunnel entrance in a field near some llamas, and the opening of an old-style looking pit shaft. Not that we have much of an in-character reason to suspect anything to do with the mines just yet. The Tremaine Homestead. Situated on the edge of Scarlet Hollow's farmlands, the Tremaine Homestead was one of the earliest settlements in Scarlet Hollow, predating even the town's famous coal mines. So where it all began, essentially. It would actually be interesting if more of these would disappear over the course of the scene. Just a subtle little thing to slowly pick up on and go, oh wait, they are eating snacks while they research and study. For many decades, the Tremaine family maintained the largest farm in Scarlet Hollow, but a break in the family led them to split the land in two and the homestead along with it. Okay, sounds like we've repeated the pattern of a family splitting here. Despite the many changes made to the two halves of the Tremaine homestead in the subsequent decades, the original log structures are still visible and maintained to this day, and if I keep yawning I might have to just stop the episode. They were undoubtedly the oldest buildings left standing in Scarlet Hollow. We also have the Scarlet Hollow First Baptist Church. One of the first buildings constructed by the Scarlet family, the Scarlet Hollow First Baptist Church still sits on its original foundation, though the building was reconstructed to accommodate the influx of citizens during the Scarlet Hollow coal boom of the late 1800s. Attendance has dwindled since the infamous mine collapse of 1918, and while the building may have fallen into disrepair, its simple vaulted ceilings still evoke awe to any who enter. We've finished with this book. You close the book and put it back. Yeah. We will look through Silas Scarlet, soldier, woodsman, leader. His name has come up a number of times now. Silas Everett Scarlet was born to Colonel Everett J. Scarlet in 1818, one of 12 siblings. He grew up in eastern North Carolina during a tumultuous time in the state's history, and not much is known about his life before he joined the army in 1836, aged 18. He quickly rose through the ranks, in part due to his father's connections, but also due to a particular ruthlessness for which he received the name Bloody Silas Scarlet. And yet, he seems to have erected a lot of buildings and given them to the local community. The federal government granted the now Captain Silas a tract of bounty land in exchange for his service in the Indian War, and he settled into the hills of North Carolina in 1841. So what? 5 years later? That land would become Scarlet Hollow. So he was only 23? But it started as a simple log cabin built by Silas's own two hands, occupied by his family of 10, Silas, his wife Mary Joseph Scarlet, and their 8 children. logging business brought many workers and fellow landowners to the hills, but it wasn't until Silas discovered rich seams of coal running deep underneath the entire region that Scarlet Hollow was really put on the map. He saved what he could and bought the surrounding hillside at a great discount, cleverly hiding what he knew about the land's true value. Thus, he had all the resources to found Scarlet Hollow's now famous coal mine. We've finished with this book. Let's read Veins of Scarlet, A History of the Scarlet Hollow Coal Mines. Forced into retirement at the age of 50 due to a war injury from his time in the Indian Wars, exacerbated by his short stint serving as a captain in the Confederacy, Silas Scarlet also lost his eldest two sons to that bloodiest of wars, leaving his third eldest son, Andrew Jackson Scarlet, to take charge of the mine. Under his leadership, the mine prospered, undoubtedly in part due to the growth of the railroad industry. Managed to evade a coal union for decades, making them one of the most profitable mines in the country. That doesn't connect very well, does it? Under his leadership, the mine prospered undoubtedly in part due to the growth of the railroad industry, that doesn't flow well. The dots do mean there's a gap here. It's either a pause or we're missing something out. So I presume we're picking up the quote here. Managed to evade the coal union for decades, making them one of the most profitable mines in the country. Because the railroads weren't built here? Andrew Scarlet built the surrounding town into what it is today, with expensive stone buildings, a bustling main street, and overseeing it all, the elegant Scarlet estate that was, until 1895, the largest and finest feat of architecture in the region. Culminating in the tragic collapse of 1918, it was found that Charles Shaw, the co-manager of the mine, had loosened security measures to increase production during World War I, resulting in a fatal collapse and the deaths of over 160 men and boys, some as young as 10. Is it possible Tabitha has been cutting down on security measures in the mine once again? The casualties included Andrew Jackson Scarlet's son Theodore, his brother Enoch V. Scarlet, is Enoch the fifth Scarlet? Who had taken over from their aging father during the bustle of the war, managed to pull the mine from the brink of ruin, thereby saving the town. So this is how your family made its fortune. All very unethical, and we should absolutely look through the book on Appalachian folklore and monsters. We should have probably looked at that first, but it was strongly hinted that we should look into the local history and past events first. A few entries catch your eye. If there's blatantly something on ditch links here, we'll be in problem because the librarian was like, nope, never heard of that. It's like, really? You haven't looked at some of these books? Okay. The Mothman, the Jersey Devil, Ginseng Babies, Bell Witch. Well, we can look at all these. That's great. Wampus Cat. We heard Duke said something about a Wampus Cat, or Stella did when we saw the diseased lion. The Wampus Cat, a large cat-like creature with a loud, howling voice, often said to sound like a woman crying out in pain. Often linked to Cherokee legends, some cite the Wampus Cat as originating with the story of a woman who sought vengeance against a monstrous cat demon for driving her husband mad. Because it wouldn't stop yowling outside late at night, perhaps? She hunted it down and by wearing a bobcat mask tricked it into using its own vile magic on itself, freeing the people of their region from its evil. Others say the creature comes from the story of a woman who wore the pelt of a wild cat to witness forbidden hunting rites. The hunters of her village gathered to perform the rites, and she watched in secret from underneath the cat's pelt, but was soon discovered. For her indiscretion, she was fused with the pelt and transformed into a creature that was neither human nor cat, forced to wander the wilderness alone, feared by all. Her calls are those of great sadness and serve as a warning to anyone who dares go against tradition. The Mothman, a humanoid creature whose sightings are said to be tied to supernatural events. You know, this portion here is actually a little more interesting than some of the things in the first chapter of the game. The Mothman is a large flying creature, generally described as humanoid, with glowing red eyes. It was first spotted by a couple in West Virginia in the mid-1960s, and was encountered in the region several more times in the following years. The Silver Bridge collapse of 1967 has been linked to a series of Mothman sightings, and it's said the presence of the creature served as some sort of omen, or was a catalyst that led to the disaster. This has since become an important aspect of Mothman, with sightings of this cryptid often taken as a sign that some great misfortune is soon to follow. Though the Pine Barrens, the place where this creature is said to have been born, are far from the Appalachian wilderness, sightings of the Jersey Devil have been documented all throughout the forests of the eastern United States, presumably in some place called Jersey. According to popular legend, the Jersey Devil was born to a woman named Jane Leeds. Leeds, upon realizing she was pregnant with her 13th child and daunted by the task of giving birth yet again, cursed the child in her womb, proclaiming it would be the devil itself. Though born as a normal child, it quickly transformed, gaining a goat or horse's head, large bat wings, and a forked devil's tail, with a Canadian maple leaf on the end by the look of it. Kicking at the family and lashing out of its tail, it flew up the chimney and out into the night, disappearing into the Pine Barrens. The Jersey Devil is one of the oldest cryptids in North American history, with sightings spanning back through the 1800s all the way to the origin of this myth in the late 1700s. It's said to move with incredible speed and is recognizable by its high-pitched, blood-curdling scream. Now, what are the ginseng babies? Roots said to scream like infants if dug up under the full... Oh, like mandrake roots, right? That looks very like the things we've encountered. It's safe to say life was hard in the South after the Civil War. The land and its people had been ravaged by conflict, and many turned to unusual industries to get by. One such industry was that of the ginseng diggers, or sang diggers, as they were colloquially known, who eked out a meagre living for themselves by digging up and selling wild American ginseng. Is that really how Americans spell ginseng? There's an E in it? Myths surrounding sand diggers were plentiful, but most prominent among them was that of the ginseng baby. It was said that if you dig up a ginseng root on the night of the new moon, it will cry like an infant and leave blood in the earth when it is torn free. Whereas if you dig up a mandrake root, it's supposed to scream so loudly that everyone who can hear it dies. And the way to avoid that is to use like a silver sickle at full moon or something. I can't remember exactly, but anyway. The parallels to European mandrake myths are clear, and it can be assumed this myth arose from cross-pollination from European immigrants. But perhaps on the night of the new moon, you should go out and dig up a ginseng root, see if it cries, and check the earth for its blood. Or maybe you should absolutely not do that. For it could be that the myth spread not through legends passed down through immigrant families, but from the unsettling experiences of these Appalachian foragers. What's this about a bell witch? One of the most famous hauntings in North American history, the Bell Witch was a strange entity that plagued the citizens of the Red River region of Tennessee in the early 1800s. Many strange phenomena have been attributed to the witch through the years, but the most famous was the haunting of the Bell family. It started out as a fairly typical haunting, with unnatural sounds echoing throughout the house after sundown, and the appearance of a strange mammal that no one could identify or capture. Unlike other hauntings though, these acts quickly escalated to attacks on the family, and in particular, the daughter, Elizabeth Bell. She was constantly covered in bruises from the spirit's abuse. The spirit could frequently be heard speaking through the walls, its disembodied voice mocking the family and any visitors, and it eventually escalated to giving full-blown hallucinations to those dwelling in the Bell house. Though this haunting ended in the early 1800s, its activity continued in the region for many decades. So, the haunting of the Bell family ended, the Bell Witch haunting continued, just other families. It could be that the entity known as the Bell Witch may still dwell in the Red River region to this day. Hopkinsville goblins sounds vaguely familiar. Small, silvery creatures that besieged a farm in Kentucky. Coming out of the bushes. I mean, the ears are different, but these aren't necessarily taken from a direct witness account. The Hopkinsville Goblins case was a supposed close encounter with extraterrestrials in the 1950s near Hopkinsville, Kentucky. During the incident, 5 adults and 7 children arrived at the local police station, claiming that a group of small chrome creatures had besieged their farm's house for hours. So shiny and reflective. When police arrived on the scene, they found bullet holes and spent shells, but little else in the way of evidence. Skeptics suggest the family had simply misidentified a group of great horned owls. Is this like the Cabbages? Where the official excuse was, oh, the UFOs you saw flying near your aircraft were moonlight reflecting off a field of cabbages below you. 50 miles offshore in the fucking sea, because that's where you plant fields of cabbages, you moron. But that's how dumb some of the excuses the authorities come out with are sometimes. Even so, the incident remains one of the most thoroughly corroborated and documented cases of extraterrestrial contact. Tommyknockers. The thing that the guy who writes all the horror stories wrote a book about. Stephen King. Aren't the Tommyknockers supposed to be like the knockers from Cornwall? They live down in the mines and they knock on the walls to give signs of danger. You should leave them a sandwich or a pasty every now and then as a sort of thank you present. Enigmatic cave-dwelling creatures, primarily known for causing mischief. See, it could be that a lot of these together are different aspects of the creatures we've seen for ditchlings. Tommyknockers originated in Cornish mythology. Yes, they did, and they were just called knockers. Spreading to the United States when Cornish immigrants began working in Appalachian mines. They're named for the knocking that can be heard from seemingly within the walls before a cave-in. According to some, the knocking serves as a benevolent warning. Others believe that the creatures take stolen hammers to the supports of the mines and collapse them on whoever is unfortunate enough to still be inside. They are traditionally thought to be impish, leprechaun-like beings, but some claim they are the spirits of dead miners, forever cursed to haunt their final resting place, or similar to the German kobolds. Tailipo. A small creature with a long tail and wide yellow eyes. And that just looks like a picture of a dog, so I presume that's not what we're looking at here. Is it that thing in the fire? There was a hunter who lived in a tiny cabin in the middle of the woods, all alone with his hunting dog. One night, after a particularly bad week of hunting, both their stomachs empty, the hunter spied something out of the corner of his eye. Some small creature had got into the cabin through the hole, and before he could even figure out what it was, he'd drawn his gun and fired at the thing. His hunger guiding his actions. Again, we're seeing aspects and elements of the things we have encountered here. But it was quick and ran back through its hidey hole and out of his sight, leaving only its long black tail shot off by the hunter's rifle. "Guess this'll have to do," he said to his dog, and threw the tail in a pot to cook a soup. He and his dog ate well that night, the tail filling them both up. The hunter crawled into bed satisfied, and the dog curled up at his feet. There appears to be an extra tail here in the picture. He woke up to the sound of long nails scrabbling across wood. His dog was nowhere in sight, only a rumbled spot on the covers where he'd been, and in the gloom he saw two big yellow eyes staring right back at him. High horse. I want my taily-po, a high, hoarse voice croaked from the darkness. "Go away!" he screamed at the thing. But it stepped closer to him, still shrouded in darkness, the sound of long claws dragging across hardwood accompanying its movements. "I want my taily-po," the creature growled again. "I'll get my dog after you," the hunter squeaked, his voice catching in his throat with fear, but there was no dog to be seen. Seems like it's had one taily-po already. "I want my taily-po!" Before the hunter could so much as scream, the creature leapt from the darkness, long claws stretched out towards the hunter. Does the dog save him here? No one is sure what the creature did to him that night, but the next morning, all that remained of the hunter, his dog and his cabin, was a chimney standing alone in the woods. So how does anyone know that happened? But it looks like it got its taily-po back. You close the book and put it back. I think I'm all done. Let's check in. Somewhere. Probably the coffee shop, knowing these people. There's an achievement for reading all the entries in all the books. Why would you not do that? Alright, if we're going with what Kanika's mum told us last night, I think we can rule out any natural disasters as what brought the ditchlings here. Surely that should be as to what brought the ditchlings here. But no nuclear incidents. Looks like our state has a history with those. But not nuclear incidents. A history of not having them? Or... Oh! Some have disappeared! Of the weird triangular cheese-like things. What about you two? Did you find anything? Before you can respond, a handsome black cat leaps onto the table and dramatically intense music starts playing. Almost on instinct, Stella slams her book shut. Does the cat respond? No. Aw, hey, Pixel! Has he come to replace her dog already? I think it could be Kanika's mother's cat. This cat knows he's in charge. Look at him. Oh, he looks at her there. You might want to close your book. He loves to rip up any paper he can find. Okay, we'll do that then. Don't worry, little guy. I didn't forget your treats. She's brought some stuff out of her pocket. Pixel immediately goes to town on Stella's treats. Sorry if Pixel's bothering you lot. Hopefully he hasn't gobbled up any of our books. Not yet, but it was a close call. He can't stand the thought that people might pay attention to anything that isn't him. Oh, well, if you say so. This is the opposite of the cat back at home. Well, why do you let a paper shredder freely wander the library? Right. Okay, that got him laughing, that's good. Have you seen this little guy's face? How could I say no to that? Okay, we'll leave the cat alone. You decide to leave the cat alone. Even though he's much more friendly and personable than the other one who just hisses at us. The cat curls up on the table, fast asleep. That was quick. What? Stella, what the hell did you put in those treats? Alright, I better get back to shelving. Let me know if you lot need any help. Or anything at all, really, you know. Any luck with Rosalina? Oh, that got a bad look from Stella, and Tanika suddenly found a reason to be distracted and looking at the food on the table. Haha, not yet. I knew a teen would be a handful, but I didn't think it would happen overnight. Oh, it probably does. I'll probably head out once you're all done and check in on her usual haunts. Alright, let's, Stella, what was that you were saying about nuclear incidents? She wanted us to chime in, but I want to know more about this first. You were talking about that Goldsboro thing, right? Yeah, apparently in the 60s, a B-52 carrying a live warhead broke up mid-air and dropped a couple of bombs. Fascinating bit of history there. The first of the two bombs landed upright after its parachute got caught in a tree. Thankfully, it didn't go off. At the time, the government claimed that the bomb was unarmed, but it later came out that the only thing preventing a detonation was a single electrical switch which failed to trigger on the descent. And 60 years later, the second bomb still hasn't been recovered. Maybe it went too deep and disturbed something down in the ground that hasn't blown up yet. Right. Oh, sorry, that was her line. Right, it's conventional explosive disintegrated in mid-air, but most of the nuclear material is made unrecoverable by flooding. If I remember correctly, they just buried it and sealed it up. Flippin' heck. Goldsboro is over 300 miles from here. I don't think we have to be worried about that. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but I did. Yeah, that's fair. It wouldn't make sense for ditchlings to be here specifically if that was the case too, because it's so far away they'd be over there. We also really shouldn't be looking too much into this whole disaster angle. Whatever these creatures are, they're biological. Well, you never know with radiation. We actually know quite a bit. It just melts you, it doesn't make monsters. And a 60-year-old bomb isn't going to explode on its own hundreds of miles away and kill us here. You never know, there could always be a whole underground society of bomb-worshipping mutants just waiting to blow it up and transport it over here. I've missed this. You know, let's talk about the historical buildings of Scarlet Hollow. That got their attention. Oh my god, you read that? That book was assigned as punishment if we misbehaved in school. Sorry, is there a problem? It's an excellent sleep aid. NyQuil and melatonin have nothing on historical buildings of Scarlet Hollow. Rumour has it that nobody has read it from cover to cover. Well, I did skim a few of the pages, but you guys are missing out. That's one of my favourite books here. Such rich history. Maybe he should chime in a bit. See, this, having an additional character present who can chime in conversation, exactly what I was saying when I was referring to Avery being present in scenes with Tanika's mother, which ironically he just was, and she wasn't necessarily treating him like a son, so maybe he's not her brother, but we'll see. Guess we're just kindred spirits there, Sarah. Look, I read the book, okay. If we're serious about solving this mystery, we have to learn as much as we can about the town's past. Oh, definitely. I brought this book here for a reason. I'm just surprised someone finally got through it. When was someone going to tell me that the mayor is a dog? Well, it got a laugh out of him, so that's good. Damn. I was hoping it'd be a surprise. Scarlet Hollow hasn't had a human mayor since the 1920s. Oh, so it actually is a dog? Yeah, if you were hoping a mayor might be able to help us out here, you're out of luck. Alright, what happened to the estate? At some point, the hill it was built on started falling apart. I think it's pretty stable at this point though. I've been inside it. Is it stellar? You've seen the place, says Kanika. And half of it is still mostly okay. Well, that's debatable. I want to get to this one about the Tremaine homestead, but I think I'll just do these in order actually. Definitely getting to the coal mines at the end. Why don't people go to church here? We just never really had a good pastor around these parts. Not as long as I've been around, at least you need more Italian cooks. I'm not really much of a church person anyways. Who has the time? People who go to church, obviously. Keep with it, girl. The building gives off weird vibes too, and not in a fun, haunted way. This is a horror game, so it's probably a bad thing. Look, even the hospital here is named after my family. I know it's in the name, but calling it a hospital is generous. Right now, it's a one-woman medical clinic. If any serious emergencies happen these days, we gotta call an ambulance from out of town. And being America, you have to pay for the ambulance to come as well, which is probably bloody expensive. That's where our friend Reese and his mum live. She's the town doctor, though these days she doesn't really see a lot of patients because there aren't a lot of people in town. You know, the Tremaine homestead seems like the only thing here that doesn't have the Scarlet name stamped on it. Yeah, I think they've been around these parts even longer than your family, though they're the Tremaines and the Callaways now. Yeah, but the family's split. Do you not see a possible connection? They literally split their farmhouse in half over that schism. You know, when I was a student, I did hear about a couple who got divorced and bought 2 chainsaws and literally cut everything in their house in half. I know, right? Like the sofa, bed, everything. Absolutely crazy. Duke's actually on the Callaway side of the family. Oh really? So we might get to see more of him. And he'd be very skeptical, but might still. Jackson, Haywood, Swain. Is that Malin or Mac? Lay. Can't quite. Looks like Trang. Oh! Transylvania, land of the vampire pencils. Of course. What else could it be? Sorry, Pennsylvania. So, no, it's Trans T or Ye. Ooh, big squiggle. I don't think they wanted me to read that bit. And why does this look like a very old-fashioned oil lamp that Aladdin might have? Okay, so about the coal mines. Kanika visibly shudders. Interesting reaction. Trembling like the ground itself if something goes wrong in the mines. I get cold sweats just thinking about being in a place like that. I feel for the guys who work up there. I could never. Evidently. Speak for yourself. I love a good crevice. Surely you mean crevasse. Right, there is a difference between a crevice and a crevasse. A crevice is small, like, or large. A crevasse is always large, like a chasm, a gaping chasm, a ravine. Whereas a crevice can be a small jagged crack as well, or a large. But it does tend to be smaller. A union-busting mine collapsed from poor working conditions. Colour me shocked. What happened after a mine collapsed? I don't remember anything about breaking unions in the book. What happened after the mine collapse? The book just kind of glosses over that. Oh, there was a union for a little bit, but it didn't last. There's not a whole lot of written about the past century here, and now we know there was a union, but didn't last very long. Yeah, the Scarlet Hollow mine isn't exactly the most ethically run business. And we had an opportunity to know that earlier and claim that, with no basis for that knowledge in the first chapter. That's kind of the thing I'll say. This game sometimes assumes we know things, but we don't. And the writing is sometimes a little too millennial for my taste, but I'm working on it, okay? I'm sure Tabby runs for mines better than Charles Shaw did. Well, let's hope so. But she is gruff and focuses on her business and is like, no, I'm busy, don't want to talk, you know. So she probably wouldn't have much time for people coming to her talking about work safety measures or workers' rights. Still hasn't let the union in, though. There's a reason she and I don't talk. Are you part of some kind of... Kanika, what the fuck is this now about a workers' union? You know, history tends to be written by the winners. Maybe there's more to Charles Shaw's story. Perhaps there's a book on that somewhere. Yeah, maybe there's more to Charles Shaw's story than these dusty old books are letting on. Normally, I'd be inclined to agree with you there, but we're talking about an old-timey coal boss. I'd be shocked if he wasn't cutting corners, although I'm still pretty pleased that these have, some of them have disappeared. It'd be interesting to see if another one disappears in a bit, but I think they just went with a single stage. Sarah does make a fair point. Shaw was certainly a problematic figure, but there might be other details that were lost to time. Right. Saying he was a problematic figure implies that it was a problem then. Claiming he is a problematic figure means it's a problem for us now. I'm not sure it was a problem for as many people back then. Sure, but the guy was run out of town on a rail. Oh really? That picture back there? They celebrated that? And that's not a figure of speech. Back then they literally tied you to a rail and ran you out of town. There's a big mural of it over on the far wall. It's like that scene in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, but they don't tie him to it, they just literally put him on a log and run out of the room with him. It doesn't make much sense. Obviously they're just making sure he doesn't get to walk in any different direction. Or maybe they're going to lynch him, I don't know. He got off easy if you ask me. So... okay. Do we want to do this? Some explore options can open up things, but also close off things. I think Kanika would like this, but I'm not sure it would be a good direction to go in. It might turn us into a kind of sarcastic, unsympathetic person who's just like, oh yeah, you're all horrid people, you treat people badly. If we bring this up now, we might get into an argument with Tabitha later. I mean, in all fairness, she's likely to argue with us. Let's see what else we got. Maybe the ditchlings here are here to foretell another collapse. I think it's something stronger than that, something much bigger. What if the ditchlings are coming from the mines? I don't think they're coming from a mine, but I think they are influenced by the mine or reacting to it. What if there's something toxic in the mines poisoning the town? Tabitha and I ran into a miner on the way back last night who seemed sick. What if there's something toxic in the mines poison? Hang on, these two seem to be identical. No, Tabitha was with me. I see the difference. I'm not sure how they tie them, but the mines seem important. But no, let's go with this. What if there's something toxic in the mines poisoning the town? Tabitha and I ran into a miner on the way back last night who seemed sick. Oh, God, are you talking about Wayne? That creep keeps coming around my mum's tea room. There's definitely something wrong with him, like viscerally wrong. By viscerally, you mean he's slashed open and his guts are hanging out. I don't think it's quite that gory, lady. But we are supposed to be a bit of a kindred spirit with her, so maybe we should have gone with a wisecrack about going, oh yes, if a place collapses, being sarcastic and nihilistic. Maybe there's some sort of parasite down in the mines. Maybe it infected Wayne, and maybe Wayne infected the local wildlife. No, maybe it infected Wayne and it infected the local wildlife and he hasn't infected anything. That's kind of the way I'd go more. Ah, that could work. Do you think there's a cult here? You lean in and quietly whisper to Stella and Kanika. Do you guys think there's, like, a cult here? Oh god, we are millennial. We're abusing the word like. That's not millennial, though. Wait, is it? No, I think it is, because in the 90s, it was very popular to use the word like as a replacement for any other word. You could literally say to someone, you know, like, it was like, and they would actually be able to understand you, and from the inflection of each word and the way you use them together, have a pretty good idea what you were referring to, which is ironic that you would be using the word like to describe not having a very good idea of how to describe something. Because you'd never say it was like anything, it would just be like, you know, like. It went on for like 3 or 4 years and it was really annoying. They haven't responded at all. Maybe the ditchlings were actually nudists doing some sort of weird ritual. No, maybe the ditchlings were summoned. A lot of people here feel tense and closed off. The whole vibe of this town is off, and it feels like folks are hiding something. No, they just don't know me. Or maybe people here just aren't used to strangers, says Kanika. So, Appalachian folk monsters. Hopkinsville's goblins were silvery, small, and travelled in a pack. There's a lot of similarities to ditchlings there, apart from the silver bit. Those are 100% confirmed aliens, though, says Stella. Unless... well, the Hopkinsville goblins were just a couple of owls. Some drunk farmer saw at 3 in the morning, says Kanika. They're not aliens. And before we say it, no, ditchlings aren't aliens either. Well, it doesn't matter if either of them are aliens. What matters here are the similarities between them. The whole implanting thing we saw last night feels consistent with stories about aliens. Who says ditchlings aren't aliens? It seems more plausible than them being supernatural. Why? All I'm saying is there's a precedent for this physical description. It's a starting point. No, but say, doesn't matter if either of them are aliens. What matters here are the similarities between them. And we're going to get more similarities in a bit. Oh, she's taking notes again. We even heard her scratching there. Alright, I can respect that. But even if the Hopkinsville goblins were ditchlings, there's not a whole lot to go on there. And that's a big if. It'd probably rule out the whole portent of doom thing as well. I'm already ruling that out. Well, you shouldn't. Your mother thinks otherwise. Do you think the ditchlings are Tommyknockers? Maybe. Do you think Wayne is a Tommyknocker? No, he's human-sized, and we can see him. My mother used to tell me about that Tailipo story. I'd totally forgotten about it. Yeah, she told me back when I was little. I can't believe I forgot that one. It scared me so bad I didn't eat soup for years. I thought a monster might try and dig it out of my stomach if I did. I love that one. There's this old chimney in the woods that I used to think was the chimney from Tailipo. The one that was left after the thing did whatever it did. Now I know it's just because chimneys don't burn down, and wooden houses do. But that doesn't mean it's not the chimney from Tailipo, says Stella. I've camped out there a couple of times and seen some pretty spooky stuff. Yeah, I watched that video. You saw raccoons. You're gonna get rabies one of these days chasing after wildlife like that. What can I say? I like to live on the edge. I mean, she's more of a kindred spirit than she is, if anything. But we've been forced into the role of being otherwise, so we're supposed to be sarcastic and not take her that seriously in that case. Do you think the ditchlings are Tommyknockers? What with the whole warning thing? Good thought, but Tommyknockers live in mines. That's like their whole thing. Agreed, and nobody ever sees them. I'm going to write it down, though. I'm not saying do you think ditchlings are Tommyknockers, I'm saying do you think Tommyknockers are ditchlings? Tommyknockers are literally just the sounds that happen when a bunch of rocks and wood are about to collapse. Yeah, but how do you know the rocks and the wood are making the sound, and how do you know the knockers aren't making the sound to warn you first? Are they? Or are they the sound of mysterious creatures pounding on the rocks and support beams with hammers to cause a collapse? Oh, she's joking with her now. She's winding her up a bit. How are these two friends? There's simply no way to know. Well, you could believe. Ghosts are fake. Why would we say that? We have no reason to know that. You know, I'd never heard of ginseng babies before I looked into this book today. Oh yeah, that myth is pretty buried. Because the ginseng babies are buried unless you dig them up. The author managed to unearth it for this book. Yeah, she's joking again. Kanika gives a pretty stare. Get it? Have you seen what ginseng roots look like though? Creepy stuff. Creepy, but incapable of screaming. When did you dig them up? Yeah, that's one of those things that even I don't buy into. Yeah, but did you see the picture? Wampus counts sound like they could be mountain lions. Voice like a woman crying out somewhere about person size, between person size and cat sized. Definitely, they are 100% mountain lions. Kanika, you know there's no mountain lions up here. I thought you were supposed to be a skeptic. She fucking is, that's really obvious. Have you not been paying attention to her at all? Why did you even invite this skeptic nutter over here? But the myths are old, right? Mountain lions didn't go extinct in the Appalachians that long ago. Those legends just haven't died off yet. Maybe she's good at studying and helps you appreciate these things or find the facts that you're looking for. Just be good friends in spite of your differences, because that's what makes us all human. And this music's starting to get a bit jarring now. It happened when the cat arrived and it hasn't left. Almost every cryptid can be tracked down to either a hoax or someone getting confused about a perfectly normal animal, sometimes both. She is very narrow-minded, and that's her problem. You can't fix a person like that. Bigfoot, for instance, started a prank when folks saw bears walking around on their hind legs and got freaked out, and now here we are. No, it's more like yetis, like orangutans in Tibet and China and India. But anyway, this whole Bigfoot is just people who can't spell yeti or never heard the word or something. You'll eat those words when I get the first clear footage of a Bigfoot. It's like a big hopping foot, like in Monty Python's Flying Circus. If you manage that, I'll print out a piece of paper that says Bigfoot isn't real and literally eat it. I promise. Maybe do it on rice paper. It'll be more edible that way. I'm holding you to it. And she laughs. Okay, good. So they've got a bit of humour about this. Stella, I was literally attacked by a mountain lion yesterday. Holy shit, you were? Yeah, we should have been saying that to Kanika, not Stella. So you say, but for all we know, you were attacked by a ditchling, which you mistook for a mountain lion. No, more like a mountain lion that had been infected by a ditchling, or worse. The fact that Duke was out there explicitly hunting an alleged mountain lion could have warped your memories. No, I saw it before I saw him. Stella, are you really saying that my mum's magical grub monsters are real, and cougars aren't? Sure, we have video evidence of your mum's magical grub monsters. Look, they're not taking things seriously. She's not taking her subject matter seriously. Seems like she's just in it for the clicks. Might not really believe. Is she just chasing the popularity she once had? Trying to retain relevance? Ooh, is this adding depth to her character? I mean, she does seem pretty obsessive in the way she goes after things. Probably because she's so young. We're not going to argue on that one. The Jersey Witch sounds terrifying. So the Bell Witch sounds terrifying. The Jersey Witch must be another thing entirely. Yeah, no kidding, says Stella. Thankfully she isn't real. Is anything? Are we real, Kanika? Are you? You know, there's some striking similarities between Mothman and the Ditchlings, not really. Both of them are portents of doom. That's the only real similarity. Mothman, love that guy. There's a whole subgenre of cryptids that serve as bad omens, but the disaster angle is definitely a clear connection. Kanika says 3 dots in a row, which is unpronounceable. Maybe Mothman is what happens when Ditchling is all grown up. I bloody hope not. That'd be a nightmare. But they're already reproducing. Exactly. And they don't have wings. And they're pale and blobby. They have a certain caterpillar vibe, don't they? Why am I even engaging with your miss? Portents of doom aren't real. But the Ditchlings are. And you've seen proof of that. Doubting Thomasina, you. Why is the Jersey Devil even in this book? The Pine Barrens are specifically not in Appalachia. Because he's cool. The Jersey Devil is like the granddaddy of North American cryptids, and it's kind of close to Appalachia. I'll take your word on it, I'm not that familiar with American geography. Back when I was a kid, I always wanted one as a pet. Well, there is only one. And it doesn't seem to have been seen much recently, so maybe it died out. Let's move on. Let's talk about Silas Scarlet before going for Booksmart, which is not an explore. So, Silas Scarlet seems to be responsible for a lot around here. Rich guy in the south? I should have known it wouldn't be pretty. What a revisionist biography, indeed. Really glosses over the war crimes to paint a picture of a self-made man. It's a perfect example of why you should use multiple sources for your research instead of trusting the first thing you read on the subject. Like when about 11 years ago, dickheads said, educate yourself to everyone. Don't educate yourself. Be educated by someone who actually knows stuff. You'll learn much better that way. And if they're a good teacher, they won't just try and drum some dogma or rigmarole into you, but will actually let you know about the different possible, attitudes and options and things. Or the most likely anyway, it's fine, right? It's a... Yep, dude was a monster. sorry you're related to him. Thanks, I suppose. Do you think the ditchlings are here for retribution? What, for something he did? They've waited a long time, in that case. This town is stuck in the past and built on atrocities. It's already practically collapsing on itself, no offence. I mean, that sounds pretty offensive, actually. And narrow-minded in itself. He seems like a terrible person, but I don't see what this has to do with bad omens or creatures in the woods. I don't think he's really... yeah, we'll go with that one. Silas seems like a terrible person, but I don't see what that has to do with bad omens or creatures in the woods. I agree, we're talking about ancient history here. No, ancient history could be very relevant, but his history doesn't seem that relevant. Although it did kick off the whole town. Yeah, we probably have better leads. It never hurts to have historical context. Indeed, Oscar. Well said, that man. Well, the minds are the obvious common thread here. The mines are the obvious common thread between everything we've researched. Between Wayne, the old collapse, and the fact that the whole town's practically been built around them. They're the smartest place to start our investigation, and Tabitha probably won't let us in. It's not like we work there. She'll be like, get out, kids. Good idea, but there's an awful lot of mines-related stuff in my notes. We can poke around, find out if anyone's seen anything weird, and I could have asked to go there today, last night. But I didn't. Because stuff like this could have happened. And the cat music is starting to get annoying now. Just to clarify, you two are suggesting we go to question some of the miners, right? We're not poking around unprepared in the actual mines, right? It's okay, Kanika, you've made it very clear you wouldn't be comfortable going in there. Stella gives me a long look and I'm like, look, you don't have to come if you don't want to. Right? Yeah, totally, 100%. Oh, I would never. We wouldn't even have a good reason to go down there. Except for the fact I'm related to the boss and might want to see how the place works. Good, let's keep it that way. You know how I feel about mines. I promise, Neeks. You call her Neeks. Okay. We're just going to question some of the miners. And then when she's gone, she's like, right, let's get a fucking spade and pickaxe and go down there. Oh, go on, do it properly, like those old Welsh and Cornish miners with the pipe in the mouth with the candle in the end. It's not used for smoking, it's used to carry a candle before they had lamps to take down into the mines. It was great stuff. Yeah, there's like a literal medieval illustration of a miner with a candle in a pipe in his mouth. Yeah, like the kind of pipe you'd smoke. God, we went to that mine on a school trip years ago. I was quite young. And if questioning gives us a good reason to poke around, say a cool abandoned coal mine, then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, or rather we will and she won't. You can cross that bridge when we come to it. I'm not going underground. Interesting that the skeptic fears the place where all the bad stuff is likely to be, so that if we go and see it, she can deny it and not take it seriously. I'm not saying that's the reason why she fears the place, but it's like her skepticism is protecting her from the place where the bad stuff is. I'm just messing with you. We'll stick to the surface. Yeah, and hopefully we can find out what's wrong with Wayne while we're at it. Maybe... Hopefully this will mean I get a chance to get to know Tabitha better. I'm sure Tabitha's going to love that we're snooping around. Maybe if Tabitha can help us out. She probably won't. Yeah, let's go with... Questioning the miners isn't going to give me a chance to get to know Tabitha a little better. But if I get to know Tabitha a little better, I may then be able to question some of the miners. Wayne will probably be the easiest one to speak to. He'll probably come talk to us. This is the sarcasm that Kanika might like. You know, I'm sure Tabitha's going to love the fact that we're snooping around. We'll just have to make sure we don't get caught. We'll be super sneaky. I can even keep lookout. So you won't be the one being sneaky. Lady, you weren't being that sneaky in the forest when Duke heard you the other night. Last night, in fact. And it got your dog killed. How are you not upset about that? Look at us, going out on a caper together. Oh, I missed this. I missed it too. Yeah, maybe you can use that friendship link with Tabitha to try and... no, maybe not. She probably wouldn't respond very well. Okay, so yeah, I think these two must be childhood friends of some sort, at least. Though there is something missing. Yeah, his daughter. Reese! Who? Oh, they both say it, I see. I really miss that dude. I can't believe how long it's been. Have you seen him lately? Nope. I tried to plan stuff, but he's been too sick. Didn't you say his mother was the town doctor? Or do him and his mother live out where the ambulance comes from? That wasn't clear. I didn't realise it was getting so bad. That poor guy. You know, we could just pop over and surprise him. Yeah, not a bad idea. It potentially introduces another character and keeps us out of trouble, like going into the garden and getting got by ditchlings. Hell yeah, let's do it! Wait. Okay, no, that was Stella's line. A little confused there. See ya, Oscar! We'll let you know if we run into Rosalina, because we definitely said we'd keep an eye out for her. Thanks, guys. I'll keep you all posted. And maybe we can get away from the cat music now. And they didn't finish the weird triangular things that are not scones or biscuits. Reese's home stands at the edge of the forest wall, an isolated buffer cushioning the rest of the town from an unending wilderness. But before we go any further, I think I should probably end this episode here. It's been a decent length, my throat's getting a bit dry, and I definitely need to get that washing machine started. So I hope you've all enjoyed this one, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the very next episode. I'll say goodbye for now though, and cheerio everyone. See you all soon.